Hello, welcome in the next tutorial, and I'm going to show you how to do smoke, how to achieve the look you want for the smoke, and how to manipulate forces so you get smoke you want. So I've created something like, let's say the car is staying in outside on a winter, and the smoke is like just like coming out as the car is ongoing. So yeah, something pretty simple. Didn't play too much with it. Of course, it's not perfect, but I'm going to show you how to play around with forces and fields and get the look of the smoke you wanted. So first things first, I would go and create a meter. You can already name and create sphere. To create sphere, of course, we don't want the primitive. We want it like that. And the mountain. Why do we create mountain? It's because we don't want our smoke to be perfectly coming out of a sphere. Like we want it to be, you know, a bit of deformed, if I can say. Yeah, we could play around with the time, but I think we can skip it for now. I can show you how to do this with time. It's simply you can write $F, and every single frame you are going to get a different mountain, like because we've set it $F, so it will go 0 1 2 3 as the frame changes. So we don't want that much of that. Maybe we would go with have this keyboard on now, and we say that it goes, see, every frame will jump 0 0.025 up. And now when we play it, still fast, still super fast. But I hope you understand the point. See, like that, maybe something quicker, something slower. I think we can skip that for now and just place it on 0. Well, what else do we want? I for sure want to show you how to create velocity, which is very important because, you don't want to have like a smoke placed perfectly in one place and just like, ooh, smoke going up, so nice. Maybe you probably want it to like go on the side, or if you have something exploding, for example, you would go uh, with pop network, probably create some particles and just like try to explode them and then create smoke out of particles. But we are going to simple one today, so we can take a pop attribute wrangle and just simply write that v at v, so vector of attribute, like our velocity, the vector which will have three uh, showed you before. The position has three floats, and our velocity need does as well. So it know in which direction. You need to say that you can't say with one simple line that the direction is going to be like somewhere, like let's say we want it from here to here. Then you need the x and zeta to describe it, like, hey, it's gonna be minus x and plus zeta. How do you know which one is positive and negative? Of course, you can see it on the grid as it's going to be minus and minus here, but as well you can always look down here on the left bottom. X where the line goes, it's positive. So you can see x is going in this direction, it's positive, zeta this direction is positive. So you can say vector attribute v, and you can write that attribute position minus point 1, and I will explain in a second why is that, and search for t and t correct. But so as I said, I will explain. So we want the position, but we set minus the 0.1, which is the position of incoming for the first input. This is input 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is 1. And we set the position of the first input, the first, which is actually number 1 input, because the first input is 0. So we want transform, and we want to move it. And as we move it, we can display point trails. Now you should be able to see where our velocities of this the left side, where they are going. Like look, go up, our velocities are like pointing there, but they are always on the other side. You will see it in a second. Like the farther we go, the longer they're gonna be, bigger it is, so there will be more pointy. Let's visualize them a bit better. You can say v at v and multiply it with channel float, for example, and we will get okay, yeah, let's go. It doesn't matter if I made a mistake in writing or. So now we get this, and you can see we multiply the number of velocity with 0 to 1, and always go higher to something like that. And as we know, this is velocity, so it's pointing like with what speed it's gonna go out. So we can still like manipulate where they going, how spread they gonna be. Of course, we could also run noise over that, but I think we can skip that for now, just so it will be a bit simpler to remember everything, and I might show it in the next tutorial. So let's move on. Next step. We can simply just go for Pyro FX, create below smoke, and we take this, enter. So it created something for us. Let's see how it looks. As you can see, our velocity is working for sure. Our smoke already from the first frame pointing outwards. So let's jump back to as we are here, that it took our sphere, that is after deforming and everything, it created the points out of them. when we're gonna play with voxel size inside of this was usually connected to the inside here to the division size, but it's no longer in Houdini 18.5, I think. Okay, so we have density, temperature as it creates because we have velocity before, so velocity passes through, right? And at the end, oh yeah, it's connected to this voxel size. So if we look at it, where is it connected to obj emitter create density? So it's create density particle step. So if you go in this one, particle separation, and you can see when you hover over with the mouse on it, you will see that this parameter is called for particle step. So if you would ever like to connect something to like, you know, like here, we're gonna change this to, for example, 15. This number also gonna change. You can just like channel the thingy and then where it is, and what it does, it multiplies with particle scale and then it divide by 4. I guess somebody who was creating this came up with this idea and it's working, so we are gonna use it. So there are a few things we have to talk before we jump straight into the solver, which are, we have basic default value for density 1 and default value for temperature is 1. Then we run over attribute like we are adding noise over the created attributes, and we can control it here. For example, as we press this, you can see the colors. Can't see them perfectly, of course, but what you can do, you can try to just like copy those nodes maybe and put the volume scatter like super low number, that, and then you will see more like what's going on. So the red parts are the parts where hot, where the temperature is high and the density is high. The blue part is where it's cold. It's not gonna appear. Like if we jump over to our smoke right now, you see that we have kind of a hole in this place where we've had blue particles, like that. But you have to remember that if you do it with a scatter, volume scatter, the velocity might not pass through. You might not get the velocity correctly. So it's better to do a volume scatter. Scatter isn't. Yeah, volume scatter. It's points from volume. So you can just like create volume PDB from polygons. Then you get a fog out of this. And you can point volume. get exactly the same thing. If you ever want to try that, it's supposed to be working. But I would prefer to run this or like that, then run over the velocity after points from volume. Okay, delete that. Next thing, some part here happened here. So volume scatter maybe like that, or the our structure. And of course, as we play, it's supposed to be animated, and it is. So every frame it will change a position where the density and temperature appears. You can play a bit more with those values, maybe lower the pulse duration, so when we do it, get it quickly. Like it's changing even too fast right now, but you have to think like what smoke you're creating. If you're creating, for example, like I showed you before, you're creating the smoke from a car. So you know it's going quick, it's changing all the time, it's non-stopping. So how I would approach it, I would just make it change every single frame like that. That's supposed to be good, I think. Yeah. And then animate my multiplier of velocity, which I'm going to show you how to do after we go now to Pyro. We get something. Okay, so first things first, see that it crashed onto the wall. Go to Pyro. If you don't get this box, you just need to press this. And this is a boundaries for our smoke. That it will be too small. Okay. So now we have it coming out, slowly staying into the air and going forward. Okay. So we have the velocity all the time pushing in, pushing in, pushing in at 21. Here we have multiplier of velocity as well. If we will need that, we don't need to go back. But for now, I'm going to show you. For example, if we would be in that car and we are sitting and just like pressing the gas from time to time, a bit more and less, you can just go in here, shift left click, and you will get a timeline. Of course, I see that it's that we don't have any points right now, but will change in a second. So let's say we want 21 from the beginning, then 48, maybe like 80, and somewhere before like 5. Okay. Time maybe like 120. Save it. And of course, like take those two and set that the value of them are 5. As we know, if the car is running, the smoke always will go out. So you have to think about things like that, like how is the smoke coming out? Like, it's not like the velocity is going to be 0 because we are not pressing the gas. As the engine is working, it will continue to give us the smoke. we just mark those two, maybe say a bit, when you start pressing the gas, uh, stop pressing the gas is just like, if it's high RPM, then it will go quicker down, like that maybe. Okay, so now you know how to play and manipulate the timeline for your velocity. Now we can check the velocity looks. Okay, and real time. So as the velocity is bigger, we are pressing the gas. It looks fine for now, but I would just like to kill it after like 120, 34, let's say it will be 20. And okay, leave it like that for now. Go to Pyro solver, and yeah, now the fun begins. So we have something going out. Not looking too bad. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how to get it, how to make it look better? You just go with division size to a smaller one, like 14 maybe, and it will look better in your viewport as well as render. But you have to remember that the viewport is not it's not correctly showing how it looks in render. Not 100% correct. Good, but it's gonna be different if you are going to render it. I will probably show how to render in the next tutorial as well, because I didn't do a tutorial on rendering yet, and of course it's important. So have that. If your smoke is going too fast and the boundaries cannot, like the smoke is hitting the wall, like we don't have that effect now because it's not going that fast. But you could see like this wall would be in the smoke basically. You can change it in the padding here. And okay, so now we have this. I talked, if you would have an object that is basically the car, it would be running, would be going, moving. You have to use the tracking object. You just get the car, get the pipe out of the car, and just like take this pipe and just put it in here, so it could calculate where the position of it's gonna be. So, okay, don't need to track our object. You can use different fields for reference of the padding, like temperature and stuff like that. One thing I forgot to mention is that when we put we created velocity, density, and temperature. We don't have anything else. And those are attributes before they go into the solver. When we rasterize the attributes, we have density, temperature, fuel, we don't need CD, we don't need alpha, we don't need. So we have those three. Then we put them into the solver with help of volume source. And in here we say that it's from density, it's coming from attribute density, and it will be our density at the end, like our field density. Then we have source volume from temperature to temperature. But velocity is a bit more tricky because the attribute is v, velocity, but the field that the Pyro is working with, it's vel. You just need to write v as an attribute and vel as a field. Okay. About where I use just a for visualization. For example, you don't if you want to change, like, you know approximately how you want to shade it. You can just minimum shadows, light. Of course, this has nothing to do with render. Uh, those numbers are just like we're going. Okay, something, and let's talk about how that works. So have those fields. They are thrown into a Pyro solver, and here we have installation. Time scale is like how fast forces are going to react. Uh, have something like, no, you need to simulate something before it enters the frame. You would maybe fire up the time scale before that so it gets faster to the point where you want it, and then go back to 1 when the camera is pointing at the smoke or whatever solver. Temperature, it's exactly what it is. How much temperature, if you there, like much how much temperature flare with the temperature of the air. Go for 1, something like that. Able the how this everything is blurred. Like exactly. Question is, it's coming out of the pipe. How fast does it flare play with that value to quite for sure need to quite and it will also define how sharp the smoke will be. Okay, we have a cooling rate. How much does the temperature drop every second? If you are not going to remember what like how fast the temperature feels cool, the value of time will temperature of hot gas by 90%. 10% every second. That every second is 24 frames. And you can see that it starts like this part, for example, frame 30 barely go for. Keep on staying strong red. Is for positive. Right. Positive. Very tricky Pyro. Tries to drag everything around it be like together, go in together. So I'm not back. Next thing, direction is zeta and how much upon and upward. Okay, okay. So if we have it one, it probably would up like not as much as 5, but of course. So like then our like lifting itself upward, a straight line, and temperature goes up. First things first, I will say to you on something that you want. Why is it wrong? Because I like if I write one, like it just tries to appears magically there. There is no smoke of that. Like let's be honest, like I've never seen anything like that. Right first, like let's say, let's ask ourselves, like why is the smoke actually disappearing? Right, disappearing because like it doesn't have density anymore. It just like become one with the air. So it basically evaporates, and there is some evaporation, right? Gas set it up to 1, I bet it's not going to come out just like that. So everything just like going out, it evaporated immediately. I set it 5, I think, correctly for our time. Saying density, it will into like how this I use velocity. Our field is L. Our approximate sizes are chunks. Okay, so as the block size, this block size, actual size, how much, like, I can't really explain it. It's kind of hard to explain before, so I'm trying to show you. Like, oh yeah, here. You can see that, right? So as the smoke goes, and this block size, like here, so it will try to break, try to break, uh, smoke, try to the pieces, the size of block size. So your block size is like low or too high, will smoke will just become big chunks blocks. But if it's too small, it might be like the blocks are like everywhere. So you need to find like middle value. I could have the block size, have and we have range. The next tutorial I'm going to show you as well how to get the right value. It's hard. Get that velocity. There is a value shall that has velocity go to 350. That's pretty bad. Want to play like that, have a bit red specified going set that. Try find the value beginning as the approximate velocity, not these two have 100. Hardly. I can see it's still too much. You try to break it into another. Let's go into it. This tutorial has already it's a lot. Shredding and sharpening. Leave it. Leave it if you're working with smoke only. It if you're working with fire. Don't need turbulence. So you can density on it will have density. Check it. I want it on, somewhere on getting value. Size. Size of a get like 1 to 4 base. confinement, how self as well, but as hard as viscosity. Try to pull everything a bit together, a bit of confinement. For sure, need to get the right value. So I can show you the one that I've created for if you want to have the values. I showed you at the beginning. So I had the velocity, another field that that makes more grows out as it gets out of the emitter, starts growing. Basically, just like divergence, then of as it get out the emitter, that it's from a car engine can produce heat, right? It produces a lot of heat, so it's the temperature divergence. So I multiplied my velocity for every five with oxide 530. Confinement, the evaporate. Then what I've done, I basically you've created the smoke, you got the and we've created the last thing, uh, taking the sorting them and get and everything is visible besides smoke. It's file cache and source identity. Set up your save as project. What I will set up the once and set it up before. yeah, that's how you do it. Set a new project and set the project. If you have any question, hit me up. You know where to. Hope I didn't rush too much through everything.